Okay, we're here at St. Francis Church, and this is Tommy Miller, a member of the congregation. And Tommy, you're an American veteran, and this is a series in which we're honoring veterans. So we wanted to take just a moment and put some muscle behind our expression of thanks by giving you an opportunity to say your piece too. So first, let's just start with some real basic, simple facts. When did you enter the military, and what branch did you enter?
I went in 1966 in the Navy. Got out in 1970.
So in for 4 years.
3 years, 9 months, 28 days.
More or less, who's counting?
I did.
I'll bet. At the time, 66, what motivated you to join the Navy?
I had gone through the draft physical, which is an experience in itself when you're in a huge warehouse in Dallas and hundreds of men standing around butt naked and you're trying to figure out what to do with your hands. And let's see, yeah, 3 years, okay. Well, I basically went in because I didn't want to get drafted. I'd already been drafted. And I tried several reserve units in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and I was on the waiting list for the Air Force and the Navy, and I got a call from the Navy recruiter and said, "Miller, you want to take this slot?" And I said, "Yes, sir," and I was off. They put me on a train to San Diego.
Were you on board a ship?
2 ships. My first was the USS Enterprise, was the first nuclear aircraft carrier. We did, I think it was 3 tours in Nam. I was overseas most of the time I was in. And then I was on the aircraft carrier, a new one. It wasn't bad duty. It was very nice quarters. It was great food. Then I got transferred to an old repair ship, which I think the keel of that thing was laid in 1937. It was a real floating piece of junk. And I thought, when I got assigned to that, I thought, oh good, I won't have to go back overseas again. But I hadn't been on it just a few months. They got orders to go overseas to Nam, so I went back. On the aircraft carrier, I was really fortunate because when I got the assignment, when I went on board ship, they sent me to a place called IOIC, which is Integrated Operational Intelligence Center. And back in the old days where they had key punches, so we did data. This center, you had to have a top secret clearance, which I got, and they collected data for the pilots, where to go bomb, what, you know. They would take missions over and take pictures and come back, tell them if they wanted to bomb this or that, and then they would send over a mission to see if they hit their target. So we did a lot of data collection, and that was a pretty good duty. Then, well, how I got into the data, well, at first they called us machine accountants, then they changed it to data processing tech. And I went to school on Treasure Island, San Francisco for that. Now on the old repair ship, it was the old canvas bunks stacked. There was no air conditioning except I was in the supply department, and they had trying to remember it, it was by Sperry ran an UNIAC 5 Victor or something like that, one of those old computers that use the big magnetic tape things, you know?
The big spools.
Big spools, yeah. And that those quarters had to be air conditioned. And that was, other than that, and the captain's quarters, that was the only 2 quarters that were air conditioned on that ship. And if you want to imagine sitting in the Philippines at 105 degrees and 200% humidity all the time, we stayed in our quarters, our work area, about 99.9% of the time. In fact, we took our pillows and stuff and we put them in there. And when we weren't on duty, we slept in there. Otherwise, it'd be hard to survive. But I don't know. I never really had hard duty. I mean, it was actually pretty good. So,
What's a particular high point or best moment?
Best moment when I mustered out. No, I got to see some neat places. Hong Kong, Manila. What else to see? Taiwan. We were in Taiwan for a while. Vung Tau, Vietnam, which was a harbor south of Saigon. So I got to see some neat places. And,
Do some traveling and really see the world.
Yeah. I went, when we were in Manila, we went to a place called Paxanon Falls up in the mountains, we took canoe rides and had a big pig roast and all that kind of stuff. That was fun. And one time when I was on the old ship, the Jason AR-8, we had he was a Marine priest actually, and he set up when we were in Taiwan. We went and hiked up in the mountains to a village to do some work on something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a beautiful area. It was really amazing to see how these people lived up in the mountains. They were Aborigines, and we were carrying stuff up these paths up into the mountain, and these little guys, shorter than me, which is pretty dang short, and their calves were about that big around. They were like mountain goats, and they like to kill us. We were all complaining about it. After a quarter mile in, we're going, oh, what have we got into? And these guys aren't even breathing heavy, you know. And that was a good experience. That was a little village that had, they powered everything with human waste. They had what they call honey pots, and people at night, after in the morning, they would set the pots out, and these people would come and collect it, and they had this big circular dome thing, and they would put it in there, and of course it created methane gas, and then they piped the methane gas to the different huts, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, very ingenious.
Yeah, that was cool.
So for young people today who might be considering national service, any words of advice?
Very good experience. I think that my personal thing is, I think we ought to be like Israel and everyone serves 2 years. I think everybody ought to go in. I know my oldest son, he couldn't find his way, and we kept telling him, you need to go in the military, you need to go in the military. And then one day he called up and said, Dad, I'm going in the Army. And I said, good, about time. And he loved it. In fact, he retired out of the reserves. I forget how old he has to be, but he said, I get to draw a check every month. And I said, good for you. When he had to leave, he actually cried because they told him, you know, we're downgrading, you know, he was I don't know if he made master sergeant, but he made sergeant. And he really liked it. And he really hated to get out, but he didn't have any choice. They said, you got to go. So.
It sounds like your time in the service helped make you into the man that you are today.
Oh, good Lord. It's a good experience. Of course, I've talked to people that, you know, younger guys that have been in. I don't think maybe I'm wrong, I don't think the discipline is what it was when I was in. Um, but teaching responsibility and discipline, you can't beat it. Like I say, I think everybody ought to do at least 2 years, females included. So,
Was there a particular God moment for you during your service? A time when you felt the hand of God at work in your life?
yeah, you told me to think about that, and I did. One of my highlights, I made petty officer. And I thought, man, this is great. I get a little more money, and you get to be called a petty officer, okay? But then along with that comes responsibility. And I think it was only a few days after I made petty officer, we were in Subic Bay, Philippines, and the USS Ranger, which was a big aircraft carrier, was docked there, and they just got orders that they were going to go back home. So the old man of that ship, the captain, he gave everybody he could leave for that night. And on the other side of the base was a little town called Olongapo, and it was basically just bars and brothels. So he let this whole crew go over to celebrate. So the commander of the base, he goes to all the different ships and everything. He says, I got to have every person that you can get to go on shore patrol. And they go, Miller, you're going on shore patrol tonight? And I said, really? He said, yeah, it's going to be pretty wild. It's going to be really crazy. We're going to have a lot of crazy sailors that are going home tomorrow. And it was quite the experience, and I won't say a whole lot more about it, but God got me through it. It was, whew. Yeah, it was quite a night, long night, very long night. But yeah, I made it through that.
Well, I think as I tried to explain earlier and have said to you, these videos are part of our way to say thank you for your service, to recognize the fact that you devoted a big hunk of your life, nearly 4 years, to serving your country. And thank you. That's something that the rest of us shouldn't take lightly. Anything you'd like to say to the world about your time in the service?
Oh, I would do it again. And I think every young person should serve their country.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for your service, and thanks for starting this series off for us.
Glad to be your first guinea pig.